Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Dive Into Diet. I'm with the star of the show, Lucas Schmidt. What's going on, man?
Talking about pains and aches and, well, one source of them today.
You know what's, I'm a little embarrassed to say this. Being in the performance medicine world, I hear this word all the time.
Oh, really?
Gout.
Gout.
And
Ouch.
I actually don't know what it is. Like, I really don't quite understand it.
It's like gout is an inflammatory, not a doctor here. This is just, I'm going to approach this whole issue from the nutritional sort of, let's call it light touch interventions that can maybe improve the condition. This isn't to say you shouldn't report your gout to your doctor, by the way. Before we progress, you should absolutely tell your doctor if you have gout or you think you have gout and get checked. But it's usually inflammation that settles in a joint somewhere in the body as a result of poor filtration of uric acid. Okay. So uric acid, if the kidneys are not, they're in charge of excreting waste in the liquid form and, helping filter the blood. That's what they're for. Uric acid is one of those compounds that it tries to regulate. And if the kidneys aren't doing a great job of that, your uric acid levels rise and can apparently form these, if you microscopically looking like glass shards that settle sometimes in joints. Yeah. And it causes severe pain. I've never had gout, but I have seen images of gout flare-ups or I've talked to people who have had it, and it's incredibly painful when it happens.
Is that how you know you have it? Is it something visible? Or?
Yeah. Like I've seen, so the picture I'm remembering specifically right now is a picture of someone's big toe, the joint at the big toe, really red and swollen and painful. And it's sort of like a flare-up, like an autoimmune condition has flare-ups. So you have times where you don't know you have it or you don't notice the condition. And then sometimes where it flares up and gets agitated. So that's sort of how it works. Uric acid. So a lot of people think, well, if I have gout, I just avoid this long list of foods and drinks and then it'll be fine. Well, my issue with that approach is that's sort of sometimes avoidance approach is all you can do, right? You've got to, for now, if you have a peanut allergy, for example, I don't know of any other method to avoid the flare-up than to just not have peanuts.
Right. Because
you can't really test the waters with that because that one tends to get more deadly the more times it happens. Yeah. Anaphylaxis. But with gout, that approach doesn't work for everything. The primary issue, and I was surprised to find this. Actually, Andy's the one that asked me to look into gout and the nutritional approach to gout. Yeah. And so I did, and I was surprised to find that the real driver of it is your kidneys, based on my understanding. Now, if there's a doctors out there maybe be like, no, there's a more direct find. But all I could find was the roads led to the kidneys. Okay. So if you have kidney disease or your kidneys are not working well, you could expect to maybe develop gout issues. Now, the direct trigger, let's talk about that. The direct trigger foods can be foods high in purines. Okay, purine-rich foods, they call them. Most of these foods are related to seafood. So I listed them: fish, seafood, shellfish, bacon, turkey. That's not seafood, but most. Venison, veal, and organ meats like liver are purine-rich foods. That doesn't automatically mean they're bad. Okay, fish is like one of the biggest health protein sources, salmon particularly for the omegas and all that. But those foods can trigger gout. That doesn't mean that they're why you have it. Does that make sense?
Totally.
So those just maybe in the short term, if you're having a flare-up, avoid those maybe to keep the uric acid levels manageable. But what you should be trying to do in a natural way is improve kidney function. In my opinion, nutritionally, that's the target, is the kidneys. Get them healthy, take the stress off of them. That's what I'd be doing. So ways you can do that would be improve your blood pressure. Okay. And how do you might be, well, how do I improve my blood pressure? Exercise is a big one for blood pressure. Also, lowering your consumption of sugars, right? Like artificial sugar, added sugars, table sugar, nutritional things that most doctors would say are really bad for your blood pressure. Okay. Other ways, because the kidneys are directly affected by blood pressure, high blood pressure can cause kidney damage.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it can cause severe kidney damage. And there's two reasons. So the kidneys work with fluids in your body, and pressurized fluids. Blood is pressurized, blood pressure, so that can put strain on the kidney if the pressure is too high.
Okay.
But also, kidneys being an organ receive blood supply so they can work. So it's like a twofold, attack if your blood pressure is bad on the kidney. It's going to strain the kidneys. So that's one way. Electrolyte balance is always important for your kidneys. Again, it's a direct effect. There's a lot of roads, like I say, that lead to the kidneys. And you really want to get them as healthy as possible. Drinking lots of water, good amounts of water, 36 to 64 ounces of water a day is great for your kidneys. And if you're a type 2 diabetic, taking nutritional steps to mitigate that, reverse that, meaning low glycemic foods. If you're not going to go ketogenic, which means almost no carbs, at least be low glycemic. So like slow digesting carbs like beans, greens, cruciferous vegetables, cucumbers, things like this that don't spike your blood sugar really high. Avoid the traditional things, baked goods, dessert, candy, all the usual culprits when you're trying to deal with type 2 diabetes.
Right.
So it's actually this pretty broad kind of lifestyle. If you've got severe gout issues and that keeps happening, you've got to see to a lot of things to get you want to target those kidneys and get them healthy. There are medications. I'm not going to speak to them because I'm not a doctor. It's not my sphere of expertise at all. There are medications people take probably to help with gout. Another thing you can do, you might be thinking, okay, well, that's a lot for me to do. What can I start with? All right. For me, it would be exercise, water, and avoiding. And I'm not big on avoidance. I don't like. I like to say look for healthy things as opposed to trying to. But with gout, I promise you, if the pain, you're going to want to avoid. You want it to go away. Right. It's so painful. Alcohol is a huge culprit when it comes to gout, particularly beer and liquor. Wine apparently can be consumed in moderation. I would say avoid it all. Why? Because the kidneys have to filter the alcohol. And so when you consume alcohol, your kidneys are going to shift away from uric acid filtration and target that alcohol first. So as long as the alcohol is in your system, uric acid is not leaving your body. The gout's going to stay. So you don't want to interfere with basically the filtration. It can only do so much at one time.
It's interesting. When I think alcohol consumption, I think liver, not kidney.
They work in tandem. The liver has a lot of jobs too. Okay. But it eventually has to reach the kidneys, and the kidneys have to work hard to deal with that. Alcohol is not good for the kidneys. Okay. Sugar, high sugar is also hard on the kidneys. So insulin plays a direct role in the kidney function. So that's like if you did a keto diet, people say I pee like a racehorse in the first few weeks of the keto diet. It's because you're not using as much insulin, and insulin helps to regulate the flushing and retention of liquids in your body. So again, high insulin levels again could interfere with the filtration of uric acid. It's just this whole. It's a very complex issue.
It's a complex issue that I'm hearing is basically you just have too much uric acid in your system. You need to get it out.
Yeah, well, uric acid isn't all a bad thing. Okay. Because that's the other thing. You don't want complete elimination of uric acid. You just don't want free-flowing too much in your body. You don't want it. It's actually being researched as an antioxidant. So in small amounts, we should have it. It's like anything else. You don't want too much sodium in your body, right? But you need sodium to survive. Right. That's sort of the approach here. So you want uric acid to be there. It's normal for it to be there. It's just if it's not filtering efficiently, it can cause problems. That's really the takeaway. Yeah. Short term, so a lot of doctors will say avoid high protein when you're having gout. And that's, again, to mitigate the immediate, right? That's like taking aspirin to solve back pain, right? It's going to take that symptom away, but the back pain is coming from a habit or something you're doing wrong. I would say the same is similar for gout. You don't want to lower your protein too long term because you need protein. And it's my favorite of the three macronutrients, protein, fat, carbs. Protein is my favorite of the three nutritionally. It's so important. So that to me isn't a long-term tangible solution. I'm not going to adopt a no or low protein diet. I'm just not going to do it because it's going to have other consequences. But in the short term, you could expect your symptoms to improve if you lower. Because again, a lot of protein sources have purines, and the purine breaks down into uric acid and spikes your uric acid levels. Some would recommend to improve your kidney function, lowering the blood pressure, reversing, because type 2 diabetics are a higher risk for gout because of that, because of the complications. Trying a ketogenic diet can be good because you're improving your insulin sensitivity with a ketogenic diet, which can reverse type 2 diabetes. Short term, uric acid levels rise when you're transitioning into a ketogenic diet. I'm not saying it's not a solution. I'm saying you could expect a flare up because short term. Maybe the long term benefit is better, right? We want long term. We want a reversal and elimination of the condition is what we want, or a natural management of the condition. But in the short term, again, because the kidneys work so closely with insulin, when you go to a keto diet, that kind of temporarily shifts, right? Your body is going to start filtering out ketones, because when you go to a ketogenic diet, your liver makes a lot of ketones, and at first your body doesn't see them as energy, it sees them as waste. So your kidneys, instead of filtering out uric acid, are going to filter out ketones. But once your body in about 2 weeks says, oh, I can use ketones for energy instead of sugar, you're no longer filtering out those ketones, and now the uric acid can free flow again. And your blood pressure probably will come down if you're doing a healthy ketogenic diet, which includes, that's another podcast. It's a long list of things. But that's a short-term concern, okay? So that's just my understanding of gout and the nutritional side of it. It's pretty complex. But all roads to me lead to the kidneys.
So focus on the kidneys. There's a lot of lifestyle things you mentioned in this episode.
Water, exercise, lower blood sugar would be my 3 that I would start with.
My last question is...
Oh, and alcohol. Get rid of the alcohol first thing. That's actually first. Stop drinking, okay, or at least lower your drinking. I know suddenly stopping drinking is not a reasonable request for some people. Fine. At least lower it. And if you can switch it to wine until you get rid of it completely, then do that.
Is this something... You mentioned flare-ups. Is this something that... you can completely eliminate, or if
I don't know 100% on that.
If you have gout, and you're trying to manage the symptoms.
I didn't go that far as is it a cure? Is what you're asking.
Right.
A cure. There are a few conditions like this where doctors are willing to say this is a cure, right? In theory, if you could manage this and you get your kidneys back to optimal level, kidneys are hard to sort of. It's rare that one actually fully reverses kidney damage. It's not like the liver. The liver is really tough organ. It can regenerate. You can reverse fatty liver. You can you can donate part of your liver to somebody and it'll regenerate. So it's pretty cool. Kidneys are not so lucky. So I hesitate to give you an answer to that question for full honesty. I don't know.
I appreciate that.
I do not know.
Super interesting. Gout.
Yeah.
Gout. We'll probably have to do another episode at some point on this, because it does have to do with a lot of the lifestyle changes we encourage.
May we never get it.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
I want to get gout.
Yeah. Well, man, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was awesome.
My notes.
There's the notes. Guys, thank y'all for hanging out with us again on Dive Into Diet. We'll link any relevant episodes previously in the description below. But until next time, we'll see y'all.
Don't go away.